For most of human history, having a baby was one of the most dangerous things a human could do. Not because babies were rare, not because people didn't want children, but because human babies are astonishingly bad at being babies. A newborn horse can stand within hours. A baby giraffe can walk on its first day. Sea turtles hatch and immediately begin crawling toward the ocean without anyone teaching them how. Human babies? They can't walk. They can't talk. They can't feed themselves. They can't regulate their body temperature very well. They can't even hold their own heads up properly. Which raises a strange question. Why are human babies so useless? Because if evolution is supposed to favor survival, then human babies seem like a terrible design. And yet somehow, despite being among the most helpless creatures on Earth, humans became the most successful species the planet has ever seen. To understand why, we need to go back hundreds of thousands of years. Imagine you're a human living 200,000 years ago. There are no hospitals, no baby monitors, no formula, no diapers, no antibiotics. Just a small group of hunter-gatherers trying to survive in a world full of predators, disease, starvation, and harsh weather. In that environment, a helpless baby seems like a massive problem, and it was. Human infants require years of care, not weeks, not months, years. From an evolutionary perspective, that sounds incredibly expensive. So why didn't evolution simply produce babies that were more independent? The answer begins with something that makes humans unusual: our brains. Humans have the largest brains relative to body size of any animal that has ever lived. Your brain contains roughly 86 billion neurons. It allows you to speak languages, solve problems, imagine the future, build civilizations, and wonder why you're watching a video about babies. But giant brains come with a problem. Babies have to get out somehow. Now imagine a prehistoric human mother. As humans evolved to walk upright, our pelvis changed shape. Walking on two legs was incredibly useful. It freed our hands, improved long-distance movement, and eventually helped humans spread across the planet. But upright walking created a major anatomical compromise. The birth canal became narrower. At the same time, human brains kept getting larger. These two trends were heading directly toward a collision. Bigger heads, smaller exit route, and eventually evolution found a strange solution. Instead of making babies easier to deliver, humans began giving birth earlier, much earlier. Compared to many animals, human babies are essentially born before they're fully finished. Some anthropologists jokingly describe human infants as external fetuses. That sounds harsh. But it captures something important. A huge amount of human brain development happens after birth. If babies stayed in the womb until their brains were fully developed, their heads might become too large to safely pass through the birth canal. So humans evolved a compromise. Babies leave early, then continue developing outside the womb. And that's why newborn humans appear so unfinished compared to many other animals. But here's where things get even stranger. Being helpless may actually have become an advantage. Think about a baby horse. Within hours, it can stand. Soon afterward, it can run. Most of its essential survival software is already installed. Human babies work differently. They arrive with remarkably flexible brains. Instead of being born with highly specialized instincts, they're born ready to learn everything: language, culture, social rules, tools, traditions, beliefs, skills. A baby born in prehistoric Africa could learn the survival strategies of hunter-gatherers. A baby born in modern Tokyo can learn how to navigate skyscrapers, smartphones, and subway systems. The same basic brain can adapt to completely different worlds. And that flexibility became one of humanity's greatest strengths. Now imagine if human babies were born with rigid instincts like many other animals. Our ability to adapt might be dramatically reduced. Instead, Evolution traded early independence for long-term intelligence. Human babies start weak, but they gain something far more valuable: the ability to learn almost anything. And that learning requires time. Lots of time. In fact, humans have one of the longest childhoods in the animal kingdom. A chimpanzee becomes relatively independent far earlier than a human child. Many animals reach maturity in just a few years. Humans can spend nearly 2 decades developing. That seems inefficient. Until you realize what those years are accomplishing. Every conversation, every game, every story, every lesson, every mistake, all of it is helping construct one of the most complex brains on Earth. But helpless babies created another challenge. How do parents survive while caring for them? This is where humans became different from almost every other ape. Humans didn't solve child rearing alone. We solved it together. Anthropologists sometimes call humans the cooperative breeding species. In many animal species, mothers do most of the work. Human children are different. They require so much attention that entire groups often help raise them. Parents help. Grandparents help. Older siblings help. Aunts help. Uncles help. Friends help. For most of history, raising a child was rarely a one-person job. It was a community project, and some scientists believe this changed human evolution itself. Consider grandparents. Humans are one of the few species where females regularly live decades beyond their reproductive years. At first glance, that seems unusual. Why would evolution favor living long after having children? One explanation is known as the grandmother hypothesis. Grandmothers may have increased the survival chances of grandchildren so effectively that living longer became beneficial. In other words, human babies became so demanding that evolution may have rewarded extra helpers. Your existence today might partly depend on ancient grandparents helping exhausted parents thousands of generations ago. Now, here's something most people never think about. Human babies are incredibly good at one thing: getting attention. Their large eyes, round faces, tiny noses, small chins, even their cries. All of these trigger powerful responses in adult brains. Scientists call some of these features baby schema. Humans instinctively find them difficult to ignore. Think about how quickly people react when they hear a baby crying. It's almost impossible not to pay attention. That reaction isn't accidental. Evolution shaped adults to care, and it shaped babies to demand care. A helpless infant that successfully attracted protection was more likely to survive. Over thousands of generations, those traits became stronger. In a strange way, babies evolved to emotionally control adults, and they're remarkably good at it. But despite all this effort, human childhood remained risky throughout history. For most ancient humans, survival was never guaranteed. Disease, accidents, malnutrition, predators, countless dangers threatened young children, which makes another aspect of human behavior even more remarkable. Parents continued investing enormous amounts of time, energy, and resources into offspring, even when survival was uncertain. Why? Because human children represented something unique: potential. Unlike many animals, humans can accumulate knowledge across generations. A child doesn't start from zero. They inherit language, tools, stories, skills, technology, culture. Each generation builds upon the last. And long childhoods make that transfer possible. Every civilization you've ever seen depends on this process. Schools exist because human children need years to learn. Families exist partly because human children need support. Entire societies are structured around helping young humans become functioning adults. In many ways, civilization itself is built around the fact that babies are useless. Now imagine a modern newborn. Tiny, fragile, unable to survive alone for even a short period. At first glance, it looks like a weakness, and compared to many animals, it is. But hidden inside that helplessness is extraordinary potential. The same creature that can't lift its own head will eventually learn language, solve equations, write music, build spacecraft, create works of art, explore distant planets, and ask questions about its own existence. A newborn baby is one of the least capable animals on Earth, yet it contains the possibility of becoming almost anything. And maybe that's the real answer to our question. Human babies aren't unfinished because evolution failed. They're unfinished because evolution left room for learning, room for culture, room for adaptation, room for becoming human. So tonight, somewhere in the world, a newborn baby is crying because it needs help doing something it cannot possibly do alone. And strangely enough, that weakness may be one of the greatest evolutionary advantages our species ever developed.